And our thanks to Kayla now. I want to bring our exclusive political analysts, Ron Klein and Emma Hasner, now to talk about what we've seen today and what we will see coming up tonight and in the future. And first of all, now that we see the charges, guys, and Adam, will start with you. Do you expect the former president to sharpen his focus? He's been calling this a witch hunt, but now he has the charges against him. How do you expect his response will change now that we've seen the charges?
Well, there's really nothing new here, and there's not really 34 different acts. I think this is only going to fuel the fire. Forgive me here, but these charges are trumped up. And I have to only think, Todd, that this, what the Democrats have done right here, have really walked into a really big problem. Maybe they actually even think getting Trump to win the primary helps them 2024, but I can't think of anything else because these charges are flimsy and I really don't see any underlying crimes. I know we don't want to get into the legal side of this, but this is only a positive upside for Donald Trump politically.
All right, and that would be a little political jiu-jitsu to actually try to help him win the primary by putting him on this, in facing these charges. But Ron, let me ask you, do you expect anything to change as far as the Trump campaign now that the charges are out there?
No, I think this is a typical Trump campaign methodology. He will seize the moment, he will fundraise from it, he will claim the victimhood that he always does. He will try to get other people to think that, oh, if he's not the victim, they'll be the victim, and they have to support him. That'll only work within the Republican Party as we know it, who support him, and it's a big chunk of people around the United States for sure. But I think it still is a single case. There probably are going to be more cases that are brought, which will have a variety of different types of claims, felonies potentially, and each one of these is going to have to work its way through the judicial system.
Well, Ron, let me start with you. Is this really about the legal merit of the charges, or is it really about just politics as far as whether you support the former president or not?
In terms of bringing the case, or what do you ask? Yes, are you asking about bringing the case?
No, the reaction to the public going forward.
No, I think the reaction to the public is very political at this point. People are baked into their beliefs about Donald Trump. If they really support him, no matter what, we've seen it in his past elections, crazy things that he's done, attacking John McCain, all these crazy things he did, and people just locked right in. So that crowd will stay with him. The people that are against him will obviously be against him. I think the problem for him, though, is that a lot of people are really tired of all this stuff going on around him and the chaos and the questions that are raised. So I don't think that helps him in the long run.
Let me get to Adam real quick here. Adam, if these charges are joined by federal charges on the top secret documents case, January 6th, if the DA in the Atlanta area actually charges him with conspiracy to overturn the election there, does the intention to all of this pivot away to those cases?
No, because I think what you're seeing with these charges, and as more comes out and people start to realize what's behind it, I think it actually hurts any legal prosecution of those other cases. Just to the point of how political this is, there are reports from the courtroom today that the prosecutors want this trial to take place in January of 2024. Well, what else takes place in January 2024? That's when the primary season begins. That is how political
primary season begins. All right, Adam, Ron, I'm out of time. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's a little loud here. Thanks so much for joining me. Adam Hasner and Ron Klein, our exclusive political analysts. Of course,